flood made everything free. So now we pay for proof. Lens 4 by Sean Martin. I look at the intersection of business, technology, and messaging regularly through three lenses. Through the first, I watch how organizations run their operations and reward the work that feeds them. Through the second, I track where technology and markets are actually shifting, not where the press release says they are. Through the third, I listen to the language, because the words and industry picks tell you what it wants you to believe before the data catches up. This week, all three point at the same quiet event. On July 15th, Tidal stops paying royalties on any track it decides was made entirely by a machine. That sounds like a music story. It is not. It is the leading edge of a pricing change that is showing up in publishing, film, science, software, and hiring at the same moment. When the cost of generating something falls to nearly zero, the thing itself stops being worth paying for, and the proof that a human made it becomes the thing you pay for instead. I should admit a bias here. I called this a while ago. In 2017, I wrote that as the virtual becomes a commodity, true reality would come at a premium, that we would eventually pay real money for the physical world we took for granted and left in the digital dust. My example was the last standing antique wooden roller coaster, the kind of thing people would travel to ride in person, for real. I did not expect the first place that prediction came true to be a royalty rule. But here we are, and this time there are receipts. So what are these platforms actually repricing? They have stopped paying for the song. They have started paying for proof that a person made it. Tidal's new policy does not ban AI music. It lets the tracks stay, tags them with an AI label, and cuts them off from royalties and direct-to-fan sales beginning July 15, 2026. The company is explicit that it wants royalties to go to work produced, written, and performed by people. Read that as an operations decision rather than a moral one. Tidal is rewiring who its payout mechanism rewards. The reason is a volume that no reward pool was built to survive. Deezer, which runs its own AI detection, reports that it now takes in roughly 75,000 fully AI-generated tracks a day, about 44% of everything uploaded, up from around 10,000 a day at the start of 2025. Deezer sells that detection technology, so treat the exact figure as its own measurement rather than an independent audit. The direction of travel is corroborated everywhere else. Here is the part that reframes the whole debate. On Deezer, AI-generated music is 44% of uploads, but only 1 to 3% of actual listening, and roughly 85% of those streams are flagged as fraudulent. The flood is not audience demand. It is bots streaming machine-made songs to skim a royalty pool that gets split among everyone. The output is not competing for ears. It is competing for the payout. We now have that in a courtroom. In March 2026, Michael Smith of North Carolina pleaded guilty in what prosecutors called the first United States criminal case for AI-assisted streaming fraud. He created hundreds of thousands of AI songs and used roughly 1,000 bot accounts to stream them billions of times, collecting more than $8 million in royalties before the Mechanical Licensing Collective and the FBI unwound it. He is scheduled for sentencing on July 29th. That is the farm a few pennies from each track and repeat model, run at industrial scale, ending in a federal court. The same move is already visible in security, which is where this stops being someone else's problem. When the Curl project was buried under AI-generated vulnerability reports that read as technical but found nothing real, its maintainer did not build a better filter first. He shut down the bug bounty. Remove the payout, remove the incentive to submit machine-generated noise. It is the identical logic to Tidal's, and it carries a warning the music platforms should read closely. Curl reopened the program a month later, not because the flood stopped, but because the AI reports had become good enough to be worth reading. Cutting the money removed the money. It did not remove the volume. That lever only exists when one party controls the payout. Watch what happens where no one does. Recruiters now see roughly 11,000 job applications submitted to LinkedIn every minute, up about 45% in a year, with generative AI feeding the surge. There is no single pool to switch off, so there is no demonetization move to make. employers reach for detection instead and end up, in one recruiter's phrase, in an AI versus AI standoff. Where a gatekeeper owns the payout, it can reprice around human origin. Where none does, the flood simply degrades the mechanism until no one trusts it. If the platforms are repricing around proof of human origin, someone has to build and sell that proof. So if the machine makes it for free, what is left to sell? A new product category is forming across every creative and technical field, and the product is provenance itself. Start with the engine. Suno, the most used AI music generator, reported 2 million paying subscribers and $300 million in annual recurring revenue by early 2026. Says more than 100 million people have tried it, and, by its own investor deck, generates around 7 million songs a day, the equivalent of Spotify's entire catalog every 2 weeks. Grégoire Gensolin, a film and television producer whose series I discussed with him on the Music Evolves podcast, cited nearly identical figures. The cost of producing a finished, sung, mixed track has effectively gone to zero. Gensolin ran the experiment most of the industry is only talking about. One episode of his show sets 5 human strangers, given 6 hours to write a song together, against a host given 30 minutes to make one with AI. What struck him was not the output, but the friction. The humans argued over which beat, which melody, whose experience the song would carry, and that struggle was the thing worth filming. His line stayed with me. He said he would not remember which tool made the track, but he would remember the human moments. AI, as he put it, produces an average of what already exists. The top of any field is still human. So the market is building a way to certify exactly that. The Authors Guild now sells a human-authored certification, open to all United States authors in March 2026, $10 a title, with identity verification and a public database anyone can check. That is the mirror image of Tidal. One side strips the money out of the machine. The other side certifies and charges for the human. YouTube made the same move a full year before Tidal, renaming its rules to demonetize inauthentic mass-produced content in July 2025, and later terminating channels built on AI-generated fake movie trailers. Amazon capped daily self-publishing uploads and required AI disclosure after AI-written guides put dangerously wrong information in front of readers. Even Suno is bolting provenance onto itself, adding identity-verified voice cloning, while Warner's settlement with the company gives artists control over their name, voice, and likeness. Authentication is becoming infrastructure. Here the story splits by stakes, which is the part that general coverage keeps skipping. In music and video, the flood is a nuisance you scroll past. In software and science, the same economics produce something closer to a weapon. Researchers found that roughly 20% of the software packages that AI coding assistants recommend do not exist. Attackers now register those hallucinated names and wait, a technique the Python Software Foundation named slop squatting. One planted package drew more than 30,000 downloads in 3 months, and a major company pasted the fake install command into its own public documentation. In science, an AI screen of cancer research found that close to 10% of papers from the last quarter century show signs of coming from paper mills, a share that climbs past 15% in recent years and turns up even in high-impact journals. Same mechanism, free generation flooding a channel faster than anyone can vet it. Very different blast radius. None of this reaches the public as a pricing change or an attack surface. It reaches us as a feeling and as a word. So who taught us to want authentic? The word doing the most work in this whole story is not AI. It is human. Consider how fast the language moved. Merriam-Webster named slop its 2025 word of the year, defining it as low-quality digital content produced in quantity by AI. Its president explained the pick by saying, "People want things that are real, things that are genuine." A dictionary does not choose a word like that unless the culture has already decided how it feels. Watch the relabeling underneath it. YouTube did not announce a new AI policy so much as rename its repetitious content rule to inauthentic content. which quietly shifts the question from is this a duplicate to did a person make this? The industry coined slop squatting and work slop in the same stretch. Language is where the governance actually happens because how you name the flood decides what you are permitted to do about it. Now notice who is reaching for the same word. Tidal, Deezer, Qobuz, the Authors Guild, and Amazon are all selling versions of one descriptor: human-made, authentic, original. It is becoming a premium tag. Meanwhile, NewsGuard tracks thousands of AI content farm sites, most built purely to catch advertising money, and the published story of an AI creative revolution sits awkwardly beside the data we can verify, which shows extraction, fraud, and listening rates in the low single digits. The narrative we are handed and the numbers we can check are not the same narrative. The people who work as filters see the gap most clearly. DJ Sam Young, who runs a label and sorts through demo submissions every week, told me on the Music Evolves podcast that he can hear the sameness almost instantly and asked the question the industry keeps dancing around: why do we need 50 versions of the same thing? He is not against the tools. He wants technology to free people to create and objects only when it is used to replace the creative act, which is close to the exact line Tidal claims to be drawing. He also noted that the download platforms serving DJs have started labeling AI-assisted tracks, so the labeling reflex has already reached the creator tier, not just the streaming giants. That leaves the questions that actually matter. If human is now a premium label, who gets to certify it, and what is that certification actually checking? The Authors Guild mark, to its credit, verifies a person's identity, not the absence of AI in the work, which are two very different promises. Is authentic turning into a value, the thing people genuinely seek out, or into a price tag, a badge you buy? And who is setting that price, the audience or the platform? The fourth lens. Reality came at a premium. Who is collecting it? The three lenses meet at a single move. The platforms are repricing their payouts around human origin. The market is building products that certify it. The language is teaching us to want it. Put those together and you do not get a defense of artists. You get a paywall around authenticity, sold to us as virtue. I want to be careful here because I predicted this destination and I still believe in it. A while back, I wrote that once the artificial became a commodity, the real would command a premium, and that we would pay to touch the physical world we had abandoned. That has happened. What I did not say, because in 2017 I assumed it, was that the premium would be something people chose. The wooden roller coaster was valuable because someone wanted to ride it. That was demand. What is arriving now is not demand. Remember the number that should stop everyone cold. On the one platform measuring it openly, machine-made music is a plurality of everything uploaded and a rounding error of everything actually played. The audience has not asked for the human premium. It is being installed above them by the businesses that collect the fee. That is the tell. When a market prices a scarcity its own customers are not yet demanding, the scarcity is being manufactured, not discovered. And it is not years away. It is this month. Tidal flips the switch on July 15th. The Authors Guild is already selling a human badge for $10 a title. The certification layer is being poured right now, while the word authentic is still fresh enough to feel like a value instead of a line item. So follow the money because that is the real question. Someone owns the detector that rules your track too artificial to earn. Someone sells the badge that says your book was written by a person. Someone runs the identity check that turns I am real into a paid tier. The people who actually do the filtering, the DJ who hears the 50th copy of the same song, the producer who remembers the human moment and forgets the tool, are not the ones positioned to monetize it. The house is. I still think reality will command a premium. I am no longer sure we, the creators, are the ones who will be paid for it. So when proof of human becomes a product, ask the only question that resolves the rest. Who is making the money and who handed them the right to decide what counts as real? If this resonated, share it with someone who is still trying to tell the real from the average. Thanks for listening. Explore more at SeanMartin.com.